This week, Parliament has been dissolved. That means the big party machines go into action, trying to gain as many votes as they can before polling on May 7th here at the Delaware Pavilion. This is a chance for people to vote and have their say, as the public get to choose who they want to be as their MP and who they want as their government. Or is it? Does it actually work like that? The United Kingdom is rife with safe seats that guarantee party success in around half of the constituencies, giving MPs seats for life, neglecting the people in that area. So how can the United Kingdom be a democracy when people's votes are being ignored?
Our voting system at the moment creates safe seats, and we believe that almost half of the seats which are up for election this year, or possibly more, we can already predict the winner in. That's how safe they are.
Well, I don't actually think there's any such thing as a safe seat anymore. I think, as we see in Scotland, where long-established Labour MPs in seats where they've only ever voted Labour look like they could lose their seats to the SNP. So I think that tells us everything. Anybody that thinks they've got a safe seat is going to get a rude awakening. I don't think there is such a thing anymore, because I think politics is changing.
At the home of politics, Will Brett explained why the Electoral Reform Society believe it is time for a change.
At the moment we have an out-of-date, archaic voting system which is really designed just for two parties, and as we've seen in the last 3 or 4 months and longer, smaller parties are gaining much more traction and they're seeing them command larger chunks of the vote. But yet we're trying to squeeze them into this two-party system, which means we're going to get some crazy electoral results in May this year. We're calling it the lottery election. It's as if your vote is about as useful as a lottery ticket.
The Electoral Reform Society also have the figures to back up this claim, as they have calculated how much power a voter has, taking into consideration how safe a seat is. Across the country, the UK voter doesn't really have a vote equal to one change. Because of the effect of safe seats, the UK average is 0.8 voting power. This is worked out by the size of the constituency compared with how likely it is to change hands. In Bexhill and Battle, one person does not really have one vote, they have the equivalent of 0.1 votes. This is because of the larger than average constituency, which is 11% bigger than the national average. Combine this with the fact this seat hasn't changed hands since 1906, and this results in Bexhill and Battle voters having 2.86 times less voting power than the national average. This would make it almost impossible for anyone to overcome the majority that the Conservatives have in this seat.
We're going to win. That's what I'm hoping to achieve.
That's what you're hoping
Yes, what we'd like to do, obviously, is overturn the majority. The Conservative Party do have a high majority here. I can read the maths as well as anyone, so I'm aware of that. But what's really important in a seat like this is a couple of things. Firstly, that people see that there is a choice. We're fighting a national and a local election on the same day. So there are a number of wards within this constituency where Labour could actually gain councillors, and I think it's really important that the national and the local effort work well together. But also, there are people in this constituency that are not Conservative. And what do we say to them? That we're not going to give you a viable choice, that we're not going to give you a strong campaign. And you'd be surprised, out and about in the constituency, the number of people I meet who are delighted to see a Labour candidate who want to vote for us.
The two big parties have a vested interest in keeping the current system, and obviously they still control a large amount of politics in this country. On the other hand, things are changing. For instance, at the local level, the Conservatives have noticed that the disproportionate system that we use to elect councillors means that they're shut out of large swathes of the north of the country. And similarly, Labour are having the same problem in the south. And actually that doesn't reflect their support in the country. Labour has plenty of support in the south, the Tories have plenty of support in the north. If there was a more proportional local electoral system, that support would be reflected in who is actually in town halls.
What we've done in terms of employment, it will help with regeneration in this area as well. But we must make absolute sure that that is not to the detriment of those that use. It's always been Conservative, because in this area people have always wanted a Conservative candidate to be their MP. And so it's up to me to make sure that we carry that through. You've got other constituencies nearby here, like Hastings, which has tended to change. Amber Rudd, who's the MP there, has been the MP just for the last 5 years.
prior to that it was Labour. So there are different seats. There are some seats where you tend to have the same party.
There's a reason that the National Labour Party have not targeted Bexhill and Battle as a marginal. I can do the maths. It is highly likely, based on the maths, that I'll be returning to my fantastic day job on May the 8th. But I'm here now to make sure that everybody who wants to vote Labour can, and that we show that there is a strong Labour presence in this constituency. I've been surprised by the numbers of people out there who do support us. So I just want to see as many of those people go out on the day.
It's great that Michelle wants a strong Labour presence in Bexhill and Battle, but like a lot of things, money becomes a factor. Local members will get money from the national campaign, and if a seat is a target, more money will be poured into it to try and swing the electorate. That means if you're a voter in a swing seat, your vote costs more than those in safe seats. In Hastings and Rye, a total of £78,000 has been spent on the campaign, whereas in Bexhill and Battle, less than half of that, with around £38,000 being spent. So in Bexhill, one vote equals 70p. And in Hastings, their vote is worth £1.57.
Things that happens in safe seats is that parties spend far less than they do in marginals in trying to attract people to the polls, which means that people in those seats, which are safe, are much less likely to vote, whether it's for the winning party or for one of the losing parties.
Political parties will focus their resources where they think they're going to have to invest in it. So the Conservative Party has a number of seats that it's looking to retain, those that it already holds, but sort of on a small majority, and for those that we actually need to win in order to get us a majority. And the Labour Party will be doing exactly the same thing. So yeah, you target your resources where you think you're going to need them most, and that means that there are certain seats where you don't get as many resources as others. And it's like anything in life, you prioritise, don't you, where you think you need it most.
This money factor was very apparent when I went to interview Michelle. As on the same day in Hastings, a different Labour campaign was underway.
Give us all a better future, the leader of the Labour Party and the next Prime Minister, Ed Miliband.
Well, we're part of a national Labour family, so we're part of the team. So there'll be people that are strong supporters of the Labour Party here that are also supporting Sarah Owen, be a great MP for Hastings, and so obviously we give her support too. But for people in this constituency, I think what they want to see is a vibrant campaign. And we have had throughout the campaign more and more people come forward who aren't even members of the Labour Party, who are supporters, who want to get active and involved. And a lot of people in the rural parts of the constituency, when we go out and about, saying, actually, I'm Labour too. So I think there is quiet support in the constituency, and we have got a smaller support base than, say, a major national campaign that's being targeted as a marginal, but we're still offering people here a choice.
On May 7th, counting began, and the votes started piling up. But towards the end of the night, it became a little obvious who was going to win.
No, completely sober.
Exactly.
At this time. It's nice.
And I do hereby declare that the said Hugh William Merriman is duly elected for the Bexhill and Battle parliamentary constituency.
Market-goers are waking up this morning to Hugh Merriman as their MP, but there was some surprises, like the Liberal Democrat collapse, SNP's rise, and an overall Conservative government. But one thing that did stay the same, the safe seat of Bexhill and Battle, that will now be Conservative for over 100 years before the next general election. It wasn't the only one. Hundreds of the safe seats across the country stayed the same, denying a national say for those who did not vote for them. And I fear that the only way those who are not heard are going to get a say is that if we seriously reconsider what democracy means and change our voting system. This way, abolish safe seats and stop the knock-on effect it has on democracy.